To you by audio, and it is from Perth, Western Australia. It's very early. I woke up this morning and I always read any of the comments that you guys make to try and keep in the loop as to how you're all feeling. And some of the things I've noticed, I've had beautiful people in my life that have coached me, have helped me look at things from different perspectives, and we're all very much coming from a different perspective. So when it comes to the twin flame path and even the tag, through my process over the years, I've known I was a twin flame for 3 to 4 years, but much of it, like you guys, it felt like a matrix. What you do tend to find, though, is through the process of it, some of you may be feeling that if twin comes back, is it going to be the same? What do I do if it is? A lot of it within separation, what you don't understand is you're actually working on those elements already. But because you haven't had contact, you tend to think, oh my gosh, is it going to be the same? What am I going to do? But you got to remember, you guys aren't the same people. So in saying that, when you look at it, it's really healthy to, while in separation and lack of communication, for a better word, even if you are communicating, just sit with that energy and look at the people around you. And when you're looking at the people around you and you're dealing with them, are you creating healthy boundaries? And I've mentioned this a lot, but I've come to learn that the healthy boundaries has actually been with myself. That we can never really control what another person does, but we can. It's a bit like the weather. It's raining. So for me, I was going to sit at the back, but I've sat at the front. I'm in my pajamas. I'm coming to you live. I can't control the weather, but I can control the way I react to it. So I made adjustments. It's the same situation when you're dealing with human beings. You may see where they're coming from. You may see potentially that they are a victim. You may directly react due to that fact. You may see that they may have work to do. You may see that you have work to do, but you deal with it as it comes. If we have a fixation where we believe we need to know everything or else we're not going to sign that dotted line of that contract, it's very codependent in a sense of a need, and it is showing you that there is more integration and work needed. Also, when you're looking at it on the twin flame path, if you truly do believe you are a twin flame, you will come to understand it won't be a statement of YouTubers or, people jumping online, giving an update, and you've got a trigger and you're working through it and you find that your twin isn't doing anything that you don't want you to do, so to speak, that suddenly it's a choice and you can just choose not to be a twin. If you are in fact a twin, it is the spiritual process as well. It's not just the connection. And you will come to understand that for the simple fact that your ascension symptoms will become so heavy. By no means on my last separation with my twin did I look at it with the intent to proceed any further forward. But I went through various stages of purging and healing. So at times I would look at it and I would have complete understanding of where I had my part in situations and where they had their part in theirs. And then at other times, it was I just needed to manage my ascension symptoms, which was why I went into the astrology to look at it and go, okay, I really need to be looking at this. How am I going to cope with my ascension symptoms? How, as a psychic medium, being very telepathically connected to him, even without my choice, because initially it was very much I would feel his energy, and it wasn't directly I was tuning into it. Innately, it was just there. But the stronger it gets when they're going through their awakening, even if you take the tag of twin flame away, when we have been connected to people, if they're thinking on you, you are telepathically interlinked. So to manage that, you need to learn how to control your psychic energy. Otherwise, yes, whatever you are doing, it is going to disrupt that frequency. So it's about you really alchemizing your frequency and managing those symptoms. So when I do the videos and the updates, it's for two reasons. It's really to help you guys understand what are the big lessons coming up. It's also there to give you a heads up as to the ascension symptoms that can be coming up and why, and how to really look at something from a different perspective to help you through your life process. It doesn't have to be that it's a choice that, the only reason these twin flame videos are there on my channel, or any other person's channel for that matter, are there to make you go back to your twin. It is physically in separation and reaching union with self. You physically come to a comprehensive understanding that you do have power. That power you have is to choose yes or no if you choose to move so ahead. But synchronistically, those pain body experiences will come up with another person. So it's not something as per se, because for instance, if you touch your hand on the stove, like I use as an analogy, and you burn your hand, for instance, you can react to it the same way, and you will get the same occurrence. Or you can then do the polar opposite, where you never touch the stove again, which is an avoidance of the pain body experience. Or you can learn to deal with it in a healthier way. So we do actually fall into all categories in the initial stages. Initially, we continue to, don't poke the fly screen, continue to do the same things. And yes, we will get the same result. And that's for all of us as human beings in any connection we're in, not just twin flame path. However, I do believe that twin flames do have heavier lessons. Then you come to it differently, but your ego, when it's healing, you are meditating upon situations and you are believing it's going to be the same thing. If you can actually step back while you're processing and really assess it, you will see that the things weren't the same. They only would have been the same if you were relating to them the same. Now, that doesn't mean that if you've had a very painful experience that it's magically just going to go away. Some of these wounds won't go away. It's about managing them. Coming to a place where you love yourself enough that you can say, okay, I had somebody take financially from me. I had somebody intimately affect me. I had a betrayal in a relationship. I had third-party energy. I had hopes and dreams and they were taken from me. It's a lot of work. And to be able to be with somebody where a lot has occurred, it is pretty similar being with someone that they have done nothing to you, because there's still that potentiality. It is sort of like, it's not you're choosing it because it's better the devil you know than the devil you don't. It's that you have gone through hell and back with this person. So you already had invested similar to a marriage at a spiritual level, and both of you do actually push each other, trigger each other to a point where you thrive to be the better version than you've ever been in your life. At the end stage of it, when you're reaching union, all the meditation you go through in your lonely nights at home, it can be up late at night, it can be crying on the kitchen floor, it can be just looking at other people around you with their connections, and maybe even looking at them from a different perspective where you're thinking they're not really having a connection. Codependency and connections is where you choose to stay in a relationship because you feel there is a lack in your situation. So it may be due to financial. It might be due to the fact you have kids. It may be due to the fact that family won't accept what you're doing. It can be 101 reasons. But if that then is removed, i.e., a home, losing a home, things to that degree, it is a codependent frequency. So what it teaches us in that scenario is to fix those things so that and it's not you can build a pyramid to the point that nothing will ever affect you. Although I did say to Twin, I did want to be like Spock on Star Trek. He was very desensitized. He was looking at it very Virgoian, where it was, let me check the reasons why you're doing X, Y, and Z. At one point, I wanted a lobotomy, so I didn't have to empathically feel the energy. But you see the gift in the darkness at the same time. It will benefit you in so many different facets. Through the purging and the separation, I did come to realize at times I wasn't actually saying no to people around me, and I was willy-nilly doing everything and anything people wanted me to do, which is my power. I can say no. I also maybe was stumbling upon situations and not having enough faith in myself that through adversity I could move beyond it and achieve and problem solve similar to a man, which I don't want to replace a man, but I need to be my own advocate. I need to be my own best friend. So I had to integrate that and do the work on that. So if it was, I was fearful that, you know, if you physically look at a person or a twin and they are the be all end all, what are you attracted to in them as the first key? Is there something they're doing that you think is amazing? Integrate that into your life so you can embody that frequency. It may be that at times they're fancy free and they turn around and say to people, sod you. And that might be something that you don't have inside yourself that you need to integrate, where it's not taking everything that people say so personal, and you can be uniquely yourself, whatever that be. It can also be other times where they don't have such responsibility, and it doesn't mean they don't. In the initial stages, maybe it was a choice not to, but due to ascension, it creates it for those lessons to come, be it with a karmic or another person. So it always does come. None of us as human beings can avoid these things. If you need to deal with your finances, do you have your circle of friends? You know, we do tend to, at a stage in the journey, get to a point where we move away from friends and isolate ourselves. And sometimes it's so far into hermit mode that we truly do feel so bombarded with the ascension and the process that we physically feel no human being can be in our life. To a degree, for a short time, yes, but from a holistic health point of view, we also realise that we are not an island either, and that as human beings, connection is necessary because it does create spiritual growth and there's beauty in it. We have some friends we can tell secrets to. We have some friends that we can actually just be ourselves and be clowns with. We've got other friends that we can choose as a brother or a sister from another mother, and we can be completely the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it's an art and it's a beautiful thing to have, and it's a necessity. So we need to build those connections so that twin and ourselves are not just that island. And then if separation with any human being on this planet comes, you have something for you where you are not alone any longer. To have a career and understand that, and a career, it doesn't have to be something magnificent. It's just something that is for you. Be it you're going to work or you're working on something or it's a hobby, whatever it is, to just strive to be the best version of yourself you can be. Even if you decide suddenly the work you're doing isn't who you are, to actually have the guts to go out and get what you believe would suit you. And it does take a lot of courage, especially the older we get. We sort of feel like we're used goods. And that is what I mean by how many times we stand in our way and stop living. Your age does not define what you can do. Your abilities define that. Your ego prevents you because of your fears. So when you actually do look at your fear inside you and your experiences you've had in the past, really be honest to yourself, and it will show you how often you have missed opportunities because of fear. Does this make sense? So in response to, if your twin comes back, what if they're coming... There was a comment on YouTube and it was from SK, and she said, what if they're only coming back because they're there to use you? The thing is, you can only allow that. Of course the person is going to see the value in you, but the thing is, 9 times out of 10, we're throwing that they're going to see the value in us, but do we actually believe it ourselves? Probably not. So if we can actually get to a point we can sit there and not be bothered about what another person thinks about us, but actually go, no, I am going to make peace with myself. I have done the very best I could, and I will continue to make mistakes, not on purpose, but I will forgive myself for that, and I will always come to the table with trying. And if that person sees the value in me, lucky for them. If they don't, poor them. But it doesn't matter because you have you. You are the gold nugget in your own world. When they come towards you fearing that they're going to leave again, if you have everything in check, why the heck would they want to? And also, if they're coming back and they don't have everything together, you will be willing to work with them providing you can see progress. It's not rocket science. But if they come back and you're doing the work for them because you look at them as a victim, because you feel they have an inability to, it's ego, and you need to look at that. The amount you give and what you give is your power. And that's why when I do the coaching on YouTube, I talk about the element of when I did meditate upon what my role was in the connection in certain instances, and not in all not in all elements, but to actually physically look at the entire dynamics from so many different angles. Where other people's energy was relevant, where my twins was, where mine was, where certain times I was not listening. The person was telling me they were not ready. It didn't mean they didn't love me. It meant they were overwhelmed with the current circumstances of their life. And yes, in ego, I believed that it could be so. So, taking accountability for that. And then when it comes back again, actually dealing with it differently, but making peace with that, hey, ultimately you still continued. So, yes, there is something there. But it's almost this fear that, we've got to hold on so bloody tightly that if we don't take this opportunity now, which I really do feel it's connected to childhood conditioning, it's that we'll miss this opportunity or never come back again. The connections you have in life, you can sit there and you can remember back to a person that really made a difference in your life, and they might not be here no more. But you still remember them. So if you meant something, you would want this time to be a great test, that for that person they are having enough time to meditate upon you, to think about all the things you are, the good, the bad, the ugly, what part they had in it, what part you had in it, what they'd like to change. It's respect that they don't call, especially if you have made a statement that you are wanting more. They are going away and they're doing work on that, and you've been through ascension yourself, so you do know how it is. The longing in the connection is so. At times they are like your best friend. At times they're your arch enemy. At other times they're your lover. And it is deeply, deeply painful to go through that. And sometimes you become very confused as to, how can I love this person? I feel so angry at myself. Yet if a person has passed over, you love them and you're not receiving anything from them. Love is free. It's a vibration we choose to be in. We wake up and we choose love. I would choose to look at my life in a healthy way and to try and operate correctly from this moment forward. You can't change the past, but I can definitely say everything that has happened in my past has aided me in my twin flame union. It doesn't mean they come back with a full-time job. It doesn't mean they come back with everything in order. But if you can see that person is willing to come back and do the work with you, I can say with 110% I am super proud of my twin. He has achieved so much in 2 years, which was always what I believed he could do. He has gone above and beyond to treat me like a princess. But he did not come back with everything sorted. But it helped us grow and bond together. So these fear-based frequencies are preventing you guys from trying at times. And that's the importance of the healing. If you don't heal, you won't have the faith in yourself. And yes, at times, you do have to get to the point that you love yourself far beyond, even beyond twin. From a parent point of view, not from your in love with yourself point of view, that if you have to make a hard choice and you love them unconditionally and you say, if you want to go down that path and it potentially doesn't match you, you have to love enough to have compassion and be an adult and say, it doesn't mean I don't love you, but we may need to go our separate ways. But that's your control and that's your responsibility. Now, it doesn't mean to say in the past things that occurred were my fault and I was not a victim. And it doesn't mean on his side that he wasn't a victim. But we can't change that because we learn as we move forward. What we do with it is our power. So is this making sense? So, there's no guarantee. I mean, think about your life. And I thought of the Veronicas. There was one song that they sung, and it was to do with, really taking a risk and just risking it all. And that was one thing in my life I felt. It was like, while my twin was alive on this planet, and this is the way I love my twin. Doesn't even need the tag. This is the way I love my person. Whoever that be, soulmate, whoever you love. If this person means that much, you have gone so far. You've gone so very far, and you haven't forgotten that person. So, to me, the choices I made was due to the fact I had belief in this. But then at times we fall back into ego, and then we maybe don't have faith in ourselves as much. But when you are operating from love, there is no time. How often did you have pressure on you that it was to hurry up and be in alignment so that you could give everything to somebody? It's very codependent. It's very unfair. And I try to look at it from my perspective. If I was my twin going through ascension, going through healing, coming to terms with a breakup with the karmic, would I want them to be totally healed? The love that two twins share is very different from any other person. But it doesn't mean that those people that came into their life didn't help them get to where they are and weren't important. So it's having that love that we can look at them and go, hey, we are the final destination, but we weren't the only path. And it's... I'll go inside so you can actually hear me. Although it's very soothing, it's a bit noisy. So, even if you're comparing yourself or feeling, in competition with another person, you never are. You're never in competition with anybody. I'm inside now. It's nice and warm. So does that make sense? It's just, look, I've been where you guys have been. And don't think that in twin flame union we don't get that too. That we don't come back into it. And at times we don't get scared. Yeah, just be present in your life. I mean, to me, it gave me, if anything, all the rushing I was doing, I actually realised I had a bit of healing to do. So, when I actually sat alone in that moment, I was actually just able to sit back and go, oh, this is coming up for me. Oh, that's coming up for me. And it was memories of people from the past. It was scenarios. It was family-related dynamics. It was sibling-related dynamics, work. Fear of not being able to provide for myself. Me wanting to be a success in my life, the way I viewed my body, which I'd been working on that for years, but I just gave myself the time to do that. And at the same time, I almost got very angry at myself at one point. I thought, wow, is this the pressure I'm putting on my twin because I'm doing this on myself? Is that I was almost mad at myself for how long my healing was taking. And I was micromanaging healing, which is not being present in the moment. And that's why in the last video I did, I mentioned when we're, in our day, how present are we? Don't sit there thinking, oh my gosh, I'm waiting, I'm waiting, I'm waiting. I haven't heard, because you're actually tuning into that channel, which continues that frequency. But at the same time, yes, I believe in past lives. Yes, I believe in reincarnation. That's mine. It doesn't mean everyone has to believe that. But currently we have this life. So it's with that time. If you get a ruler, mark down on it whereabouts you are and look how much you've got left. You want to be using that with every single day you have in a very positive sense. I could say because it's raining, it's terrible, but it's ambient. So it's trying to find the beauty in things. But don't feel the need to, because look, when you're sending messages, you're believing that they have forgotten you. When you're not together, you're not together. Leave them be. When they call you, you communicate back. You don't have to communicate right away. But if you're going to send a message, leave it be as a statement, because you're training yourself to not look outside yourself. If that person's there, when we say, are they going to see our value? But that's a value system too. It's like sending a message and then getting upset that they haven't responded. Well, they're not with us. So why would we invest in something that isn't investing in us? And it doesn't mean you don't love them. It means you're controlling yourself enough to say, no, I have self-esteem. I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to sit with this energy and see what's coming up for me. And if you want to make a statement in a message, that's fine. But if you're trying to get communication from them, I'm telling you, doing exactly what they've done to you does work. It's like tuning right out of it and going, okay, you're asking for silence. I shall give you silence. And in that silence, I hope you find the clarity. Hi, Dawn. So there's no need to contact. They're not going to forget who you are. If anything, it does come through. Think of a breakup you've had, and it doesn't mean they look at you this way, but we can be painted this way accidentally and be misinterpreted as karmic in their eyes if we're bombarding and smashing their phone with phone calls. Yeah, when you've got children together, it's different, but just keep it short and sweet. And if they don't respond, they haven't earned that right for that. So, when it comes to kids, great, but I would not call, because I thought there's the thing called the 40-day no contact rule. And I was like, I do know twin flame path is very addictive. And initially, I had this understanding that it was like, wonder what he's doing. And of course, it's natural to want to talk to the person you love. 100%. But when you're building that self-esteem back, you actually realise it takes two to tango, and there's no I in team. So you're having a singular relationship. So we can't say we're victims in that instance, because we are choosing to have a one-sided relationship. So when things aren't give and take, we do need to step back and say to ourselves, no, I actually do need more. And that's okay if you can't give it, but I do know who I am, and I know the type of person I am, and in a connection, I do need more reciprocal energy. Yeah, that's fine. That's a healthy boundary. It's like, okay, I understand you're seeing someone. You are friends, but at the same time, it's like, that's not what you're wanting. So why would you put yourself in the friend basket? You're sitting over there, and plus what they end up getting from you is everything they can't get from the karmic, they get from you by the telephone. And by whinging about the karmic, it's like, no, thank you. I'm not your therapist. I'm not even your partner currently. So have fun with that. You do you, boo, as Shelley says. And then, okay, well, if it's that terrible, don't stay. And that's for all of us. And you do reach that pivotal point. If you're really unhappy, I'm telling you, in August, people that aren't happy in connections, between now and the end of the year, there's going to be a lot of breakups. And nobody's immune. So it's a huge check-in with the frequency, with where we're at, who we're with, twin or not twin, where we're at and how things are going. Uranus retrograde is going to take no hostages. Does this work or doesn't it? You know, many zodiac signs have that placement there where Taurus is. And Taurus is, have you done the work? Which I'll try and add into the videos for this month for you guys coming. Any questions while we're here? Has this video helped any? Hi, Ange. Has it helped at all? Do you grasp the, just the viewpoint, looking at things from certain angles? Hi, Stella. My twin wakes up to do his work very early, and I get most of my work done. First thing in the morning, I usually get all my cleaning done. So because I do invest in my partner, and because he works such long hours, I wake up to spend a bit of time with him. And then from there, I usually do some meditating, talking to spiritual friends, reading the things that you guys say, and then getting ready to take my daughter to school. And after that, I start the working day. And then sometimes go to bed at 10. So I'm up at 4 and go to bed at 10. Oh, thanks, Chris. But yeah, if I do see a comment, that's why I say to you guys, if you need to comment, comment. If something's coming up, state so. Because that'll keep me in the loop. So if I feel you need, a bit of help or a viewpoint, I'll come on and I'll do a mini read, or I'll give you a coaching session just to give you a bit of a viewpoint of doing things. Yeah, but remember, the boundary isn't with twin, the boundary is with you. It's you choosing not to kind of do that. So if they're doing that, just let them go do them, and you keep doing you. You got good luck around you anyway. You've got heaps on your plate. Yeah. And I mean, it only lasts so long. I mean, I can remember back 2 years ago where I had a perspective about relationships. And then as a female, I did become very disillusioned by, and I mean, I'm in Perth, Western Australia. So I have a slight European background as well as a bit of English Irish. I was born in New Zealand. And just some of the things that I learned out of fairy tale books and then out of connections and my upbringing from my father's side of the family, which was European. When we did visit Europe, the men were very romantic. So again, it instilled this very romantic notion, but my father was extremely strict. So when I did go into connections and I did have a breakup and I went out there, I had only had one partner, and I was very disillusioned by the fact that the reality is we're all trying to discover who we are in the early ages, and it's almost like we tend to take on this cookie cutter notion when in the early stages of life, we really should be investing in ourselves. Some of us will meet the love of our life very early on in the piece, but if you haven't actually developed who you are as a person, and you haven't gone and conquered dreams and, whatever it be it an intimate connection or, discover you as a human being in an intimate way and what your preference is, and then discover what you like in careers and do some travel and maybe flatmate, whatever that be. If you don't do those things early on in the piece, you tend to do them a bit later. And, it looks like a mid-crisis, but it's not. It's an element of growth. We need to do those things. And then most relationships, people weren't wanting relationships because A, they'd been shafted and they thought that all men or all women were the same. So all of us were coming to this table that way. And so having that compassion in mind when we're going into connections that every person has a past, and really checking that channel they're operating from and going into it, I acted very masculine at one point, and I was very bitter towards men, but it's not men, it's the age, and it's the hopes and dreams obviously you hold. And unfortunately, some of those hopes and dreams generally do come through connections, but they can't just be the only hope and dream because we have no control over that. We've got to have something separate. And so a lot of development and notions, even from high school, girls are, oh, the boy's cute. Isn't he cute? And, the guys also, but they're trying to discover who they are. And I've really educated my daughter based on that if you like a guy for longer than a year, okay, we can talk and you can date. But, take your time, invest in yourself. You don't want to be opening up Pandora's box of questioning yourself. You want to grow that self-esteem. And then with the first relationship, yes, you do have a knock to your self-esteem, but then it's growing through that process too. And it's those building blocks that we need, and not controlling people if they're doing something we don't like them to do. We can't change who they are. We all are cut from a different cloth. We all were, sometimes even the way we speak comes from our parents. Sometimes our choices come from our parents and not even ourselves. So in my coaching sessions with one of my good friends, she would always refer back to what this parent figure wanted her to do. And I used the term Vegemite. So each time she went to make a conscious choice, I said to her to say the term Vegemite. And she realized how profound it was, the impact of that conditioning, that person was really influencing 90% of her decisions. So yes, we do come from our family, whoever they be it DNA or not. But have you stopped to actually question some of those things and gone, is this because I was conditioned to do this, or is this my physical belief system? It's growth. Doesn't mean you shade your family or, that it's not a relevant situation, but, to actually have a look at those things and say, am I doing things because of conditioning? Any questions? So no, if your twin flame comes back, you will know. You'll know if the person's ready. And look, even if it's a soulmate energy, yes, you can move beyond betrayals, but you got to do the work in it. And you've got to learn to be more present in today with what's happening, and whatever happens tomorrow, you know you're going to be fine. You do know you're going to be fine. The more you can learn to live for today, the better you will be. When we move into the future, we're petrified. When we move into the past, there's good things and bad things, guys. Grab the information and use it to your benefit. Don't look at it as, doom and gloom. Look at it as a toolkit. I've gained so much from my past that I'm applying to my life now, that it's benefited me. And I like the person I'm turning into now. I prefer the person. I wish I was that person years ago. I would have had healthier relationships. And there's something very attractive in a woman or a man who knows what they want and who isn't angry about it, but they just know who they are. So you won't fight for it. You'll be like, look, you want to do this? We'll do this. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect. I'm not saying, and I refuse to be perfect. It's impossible. There's no such thing as perfect. Yeah, it's whenever I get too triggered, honestly, I use it as a tool. In a meditation sense, if I'm looking at the future, I looked out the window the other day. I went with Twin in the truck. And I had a moment and I looked out and I went, I don't know where I will be in 24 hours. But if I look back in my past, I know I'm a bloody survivor and I know I can do fine. So with me, with my life, I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I've seen some things I should have never seen. But I'm still here today. And anything can happen. We have coronavirus in the world. We look back to smallpox and things to that degree. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but the only power we do have is to keep our environment clean, to try and keep our health levels. When you're stressed, what happens? Your immunity goes down. It does not pay. We need to self-navigate. So coming back to this moment when you're triggered, even if you don't have a solution, it is the best solution at that point is to come back to this one moment and to just let it play out for a little bit and go, okay, it's going to come to me. You can ask your guides and a solution will make itself apparent. And when we say accepting it, I had a beautiful person last year. I was going through a very adverse situation. And two of my friends that are very spiritual were doing a bit of coaching with me, and we were communicating back and forward, looking at the scenario. And they both said to me, you need to accept it. And I was looking at it more from a 3D perspective of it was my job. And it was like, no, accepting it is accepting what it is. Look at a situation that doesn't fit you and look at it and accept it, and then accept yourself. And within 24 hours, by moving into that acceptance, you will see a physical transformation happen before your eyes. So make peace with the fact that the old way you were dealing with your twin, what it was, accept it. And in a sense, look at it and go, I've outgrown that. And then look at you and love yourself for that and say, that's okay too. I accept me. But don't get scared. Just accept yourself. Yeah, we've been on here for a while. It's got some good information in the video. So, well, I think it does. I'm feeling it's quite relevant because it's my experience. It's relating to some of your questions to do with twin flame path. And I know some of you have had third-party energy. Some of you have been cheated on. Some of you have been taken from financially. Others of you have felt that you've been in competition with karmic energies. Others of you are really confused as to how the heck did you become in competition with the karmic because they weren't really giving much. You're not. But it was for you to embody the frequency that, yes, in fact, you need to move back to the self-esteem energy. If they chose that, it was not about you. It was about them. Because the victim consciousness, sometimes we're actually not looking at it from the outskirts. So when you're looking at it, you're relating it to you. But then look at it from their perspective, they're believing it about themselves. So why people that aren't wanting connections jump into connections and it seems quite toxic? It might be due to finances, addictions. They may attract a very controlling partner. It could be due to, intimacy or just a fling without the connection. And we can't ever be in any connection, hi Stefan, without getting emotionally involved. So even if masculines or feminines ever got into a connection where they thought, this I don't have a lot of investment in, because, it's safer, i.e., you do tend to get a bit of mess happening, okay? So the mess that can come through is, they could get pregnant or you could financially entangle yourself in that situation. And then there's more conflict. But the person generally was not completely invested in themselves. So no, they were not invested in the karmic situation. And it does become quite messy because they were healing. Hurt people hurt people. It's not even a personal thing to the karmics. And like us, in a way, when we're relating to a connection, where people were at a lower frequency was because of where they were spiritually. So like attracts like. If your person or you ever have attracted a person, at one point I believed I needed to be treated like a princess. And I literally did attract a person that treated me like an absolute princess. But at the same time, twin now treats me like a princess because I have embodied that energy. I believe that about myself. But for masculines, if they had a situation in childhood where their spiritual belief was mum and dad broke up, or, mum or dad was a narcissist and a real bully and controlling, and it could be even the feminine energy, one of them, they may not have wanted a connection due to that. maybe because of family breakups or strict energy. So being fancy free and maybe even acting like a little bit of a floozy was seriously what they wanted, because they didn't want the mess that they had in their childhood. And so tapping into these connections, they felt they could be themselves, but they actually weren't being themselves. They were being the version of their ego, of their pain. But we learn that after, and it's very sad to wake up and have that epiphany that suddenly a choice we made was because we were frightened to move past a belief system and a conditioning we had. And then suddenly we're in a connection that is turning into our mental prison. So to be jealous of that, yes, they may empathically look at it and go, wow, I'm grateful for that lesson. Was it great? From a codependent frequency, maybe, because it was fancy free. But from the drama and the mess, no. You know, and people get hurt through that, but it's they hurt themselves as well. But we've done this too. So you've got to look at the reasons why. You know, when we're too close to the fire, we can't see. We need to step back and observe it from an external point of view. What is the dynamic playing out? Like, Dawn, you know what's going on with your twin at the moment with the karmic. It's not fun. They've got themselves in an absolute pickle. And observing it, you could believe that maybe they're not loving you, but it's got nothing to do with that. They literally, you are their best friend. You are their go-to person. They're so inspired by you for everything you've achieved, but they're so scared to do that, but they're challenging it. And to try and move through that and look at the financial entanglement and try and deal with coming out of that. At first, we do use that as an excuse, but then it becomes so blinding that we physically can't any longer. If something isn't to work, it doesn't matter whether you're a twin flame or not. It's just, if you've reached that point and you're trying to fake it till you make it, you just can't. It won't last like that forever. And karmics have their opportunity to have that connection the way it is. And a lot of times it doesn't work with the karmics due to the fact that they are codependent. It can be on drugs, alcohol, intimacy, manipulation, not dealing with their pain body experience. So it's not a connection whatsoever. It's a counseling session of a spiritual connection, not even a spiritual, well, an emotional connection due to a situation that happened in the past. So if they strip that away, would they in fact have been attracted to that human being? No. Happy birthday to your twin. If they have to tell you they like somebody, it's because they're trying to make you jealous, but they're also trying to check if you're still in love with them. So just be honest. I'm happy for you, although I don't want to stand too close to the fire because I do love you. So I wish you all the best. I'm a Kiwi. Yeah, I was born in New Zealand. I do love New Zealand. It's a magical land. Hi, all the Kiwis out there. And I think one thing New Zealand does greatly, which is really connecting them with the astrology at the moment, because we have the nodal axis of Sagittarius and Gemini, you know, a lot of our conditioning and a lot of what's coming up in the collective with, you know, religious beliefs, colour and things to that degree. You know, I grew up in New Zealand going to the schools where we were connected. We would go to school and we would learn our nursery rhymes in Maori. The culture, it was all integrated. When I came here to Australia, it was very separate. And it's not to say that we are a huge multicultural country. And that's one thing I really love about Australia is we have so many different cultures here. But we all do have an element of it where, yes, it does need to transform. But there's something very beautiful in being able to go to a restaurant and having Indian, whatever cultural meal. And that's the irony in it. How many of us do actually like multicultural dishes? It's culture. I love culture in general. I love the history and the art and, some cultures have such tight-knit family. Hmm. And I've had lovely neighbours over the years, and they love my cooking, and I'd cook for them, and they would cook for me and teach me. I had a beautiful Indian lady that was a neighbour. Big shout out, Deb, if you're watching. And yeah, she would get me to make Turkish food because I could make Turkish, Chinese, Indian, French. I can now go into a restaurant and I can taste the ingredients in it. I should have been a chef, really, but anywho. I will be doing chakra recipes soon. I'm getting there, guys. I'm trying to level up. And it's, anything I come to you with, it will be very current to what's going on in the astrology with your ascension symptoms. The yellow and orange chakra at the moment is quite activated, and higher heart chakra. So if you eat the food groups in that area, it's going to help you. And I'll try and look at the most heaviest vibration coming through with the astrology. And I'll give you some tips. Now, next month, yes, you will need to be grounded because we do have the element of, in August on the 15th, we have Uranus going retrograde in Taurus. So, get your things done. If you need to get paperwork done, yeah, I do some African food as well. Anything at a 3D level to physically get your work done. If you have paperwork, get it sorted. If you're having plumbing come up at the moment, it is to do with the fact that Pluto can relate to plumbing. If you're having appliances and things break at home, we have Mercury in Cancer and Shadow at the moment. So yes, appliances and things to that degree can be breaking at your home. Tidying up, renovating, cleaning up. It is 4th house placement at the moment, and we're having the new moon in Cancer. So getting everything prepared. And yes, home changes can happen in 2021 because we have Jupiter in Aquarius. So it's movement. Anywho, I'm going to love yous and leave yous. Please share this with any twin you know because I just want yous to know. There you go. Yeah, it's really unique how much with the energy you get to know with the frequency of astrology. Yes, I can make Turkish delight. My ex-father-in-law used to call me his Turkish delight. Bless him. Lovely man. He was like my stepfather in my eyes. He was like my adopted father. He still is. I love him to bits. Look, just to irritate you, Giggle, I should ring you and then you can't. Yeah. Well, when does Pluto goes direct October? So it's all the pipe work. It's, yeah. But paperwork as well. That's why I'm saying you have between now, really the big pocket. Once Mars goes retrograde in September, you're not going to have the energy. So 3D things you need to get done. I know you're thinking of twin right now, but if there's anything in your life you need to level up, you've got to get that. With these nodes in May, that transferred. We had the eclipses in June, July. We now have a 6-month completion point. So all the lessons we learned in those areas that were highlighted, if you go back to any of my videos, it'll name the placements about the eclipse in Cancer, the eclipse in Capricorn, what house placement it was. Go back, write it down, listen to them, and then really alchemize those energies till the end of the year. But you probably have till September because the heaviest burden of it will be energy. If you're starting home businesses, if you're dealing with cash components, if you're dealing with anything that needs your energy, do it now, because yes, we are more tired, but that chakra I mentioned in the previous video, it's going to give you a hand to have enough energy to cope, and it'll clear that chakra so that you don't feel as fatigued and nauseous with the ascension, and get to work, because if you don't, it will be so bloody heavy by November, December for you, and it can be very, very messy. You don't want that going into the new year. There's new astrology next year, but there's so many planets going direct by that point that I feel it to be quite busy. And it is going to be a solar eclipse in Sagittarius. We have Uranus going direct the 1st of January. So we have that retrograde in August, but it doesn't go direct till January 2021. We also have, what else do we have? Saturn will be transiting signs. We also have probably another bloody Mercury retrograde in between there. Yeah, fun. Oh, joy. There's lots. Mars will be going direct by that point, but it's retrograde from September till November. So that's how, Mars is where we get our energy to achieve things. So even if you're thinking you're tired now, it's only because Chiron is in Aries retrograde. And so your ascension symptoms, your nausea is all coming from that frequency. But so we've got a little element of Mars retrograde. Jupiter's going direct as of September 13th. So again, with that Capricorn axis, if you're dealing with Capricorn frequencies in that placement, it's going to get heavier, because Jupiter's going to go, oh, okay, now that you've assessed all of that, move your ass. And September, like, Mars is going bloody retrograde. So it's like a little too late, guys. You'll be feeling like you're in a bloody wheelchair pushing crap uphill. If there's taxation or paperwork, get it done. Uranus retrograde, you will not have any warning. It will come without warning. And whatever that is can impact your connections. The stress of that, if you haven't dealt with that house placement. Leo, yours is your 10th house, your career sector. Virgo, and it can be good or bad. Doesn't have to be, Virgo, yours is your 9th house, which is movement, travel, can be vehicle related. Libra, yours is your 8th house, healthy codependency. Who are you surrounding yourself with? I hope it's not with turkeys. I'm Turkish, so I can make that joke. Getting to a point you are realizing who you can and who you can't depend on, dealing with your foundation, investing in yourself as well. It's shared resources, but it's if you're wanting to create luxuries and things, what are you going to have to do? So financial energies and mixing yourself with the right tribe. So I hope I'm on track with that. Scorpio, yours is your 7th house. So Scorpio, yes, your relationships are going to be under the microscope. If there's been tension there, yes, breakups can happen. But that will be because you choose to just go, you know what, this isn't good, and it can be polar opposite, where they suddenly want to propose to you. It gives you the yin and yang, depending on the spiritual work you've done in that department. But there could be something massive popping off around relationships that can affect other areas. You, Aries, yours is, and this will be collective, it will be to do with our self-esteem, our physical possessions, and our professional resources. So all the changes that's happening collectively will also resonate in that Aries axis. All of us collectively do need to look at the fact that now that we have coronavirus, now that we have things opening up, now that you've seen an element of working at home or certain businesses going out, what is your belief system now, and what do you have at your disposition? Do something about it. Don't sit back waiting for everything to return to normal. It's never going. This is the new normal moving forward. What it's building from there will be a new normal again. So it's a whole new world. Technology will be massive on the agenda. It's put massive amounts of pressure on technology. because we've had children at home, doing their education. We've been operating from home for some of us. So the pressure on that technology system has showed us yin and yang. Capricorn frequency can link to governments, what they're going to do with this to change these situations up. So looking at this collectively, what do we have within our power, and gain your self-esteem back? Grab your courage and go do something about it. If it means networking, we're going to have the new moon in Cancer. We're also going to have Mercury in shadow going direct. Send your resumes and out. Send them out. No more excuses. Time to move. If you want to create a business, start doing that foundation. Do what you need to do. So money can be hot on the agenda, but positions and things to that degree, and big changes, it can be big wins coming through. Taurus first house placement, the way you are seeing things is very different. You're having an upgrade. You could change overnight. Might be a bit crazy, but it's going to change overnight, and you may just have a change of heart. Gemini, 12th house of psychology. What are your new findings? How are you seeing things? Are you having these light bulb moments? Are you suddenly getting psychic downloads? Cancer, for you guys, 11th house, your friends, your associates, your aspirations. You could suddenly feel you don't connect to certain people. There could be somebody that you knew that has gone, because Uranus hands the gift down. So it could be who you've lost, coming to terms with that, and now suddenly feeling maybe you're connecting in with groups, but you're using that Gemini axis as well, communicating with certain people due to a circumstance that has occurred. And it could have happened already, because shadow energy of retrogrades can happen the month prior. Sagittarius, yours is your 6th house. Look at your health. What do you need to do? If you've had niggling feelings and needing a checkup, go and get it done. Your career and the work you've been putting in, have you been putting your back into your work? Okay, if you are working, you will reap the harvest of what you've been doing. It will be a check-in. You may get a promotion. You may get a demotion. You get the yin and yang. What you put in is what you'll get out. Some of it will have nothing to do with you whatsoever. It'll just be how it lands. But check in with your health. Are you eating correctly? Are you burning the candle at both ends? Hi, True Heart. Capricorn, for you guys, your luck. Your luck comes from self. The 5th house is where we develop it. But in an egoic way, sometimes we can feel it's not. And yes, there can be something relating to romance, birth, children, and luck changing. Where it was to where it is now. Aquarius, yours is your home environment. So if suddenly wanting more attractive things but willing to do the work for it. This can also be beautifying or working from home, 4th house placement. Maybe even you were working from home and you get promoted. But they're changes, and whatever these changes are, they're there to grow us. They're there to transform us. Pisces, yours is your 3rd house of communication, travel, and day-to-day movement. So it can be information that you actually share or that you actually receive. It can also be your routine, and it can be something relating to your vehicle. So anyone that have vehicle placements with that, please be very careful on the road, because it's sudden change. Open your eyes, check your tires, check your oil. Do your quality checks. We're coming out of shadow. There you go. Kids' books, great. So it will relate, but it's where you're handed down a gift from universe, because Uranus is Saturn's father. So, in collective energy with the 2nd house, let me see. Things I do want to get to a point I can have astrology charts from countries in front of me, which I'm going to try and do in the next 2 weeks, that when I'm looking at the astrological aspects, I can psychically interpret them and give you a heads up per country what's going on. Now, as for Donald Trump, he has the same note. He's got a nodal return, so he has Sagittarius Gemini. As for the Queen in England, her energy was coming through for a transfer. She's allowing the actual, whole domain to change. I do feel as though it will be handed down to someone. I did feel, how that's going to happen, I don't know. But what you do tend to find in the collective is when Uranus goes retrograde, kings and queens move. It can be moved, be demoted, pass away. It can even be elites. And we already noticed that, during the year, we had very famous people passing tragically, and it is to energetically, in spiritual terms, make room for other people on the lower spectrum of the level to have an opportunity. So it's what we've learnt from these people. We're inspired, and we're to integrate that into ourselves and make no excuses because they were able to, rise from the ashes to stardom, whatever that be. And I do feel because we're going to be having, where's Jupiter? Yeah, around September, I do feel there is a potential because Jupiter will be going direct. So, yeah, there you go. So, I will love you and leave you. I'm going to go make myself a nice warm drink, get ready for the day. I have clients today. And feel free to share this audio, which is great because I didn't have to do my hair and makeup first thing at 4 o'clock in the morning. I love yous, but hey, I'll talk to you soon.